What's good, greatness gang? Welcome back to another reaction. And today we're gonna be reacting to interviews, to behind the songs, whatever you want to call it, from the lead founder of Led Zeppelin, Jimmy Page, and also we're gonna be listening to Robert Plant speak about how Stairway to Heaven was made. And as a bonus to you guys, since you was giving me a lot of history of Led Zeppelin in the comments, I came across an interview from John Bonham, a mini interview from something called All Right Now 1980. And the reason why I want to watch it with you guys, because it's a piece also showing his son Jason in it as well. So I remember you guys kept telling me in the comments how his son had replaced him as the drummer for Led Zeppelin. So just want to do a little more history on these guys. So told you guys I read your comments, so keep them coming. Alright, so we're gonna start with Jimmy Page, how Stairway to Heaven was written, from BBC News.
I've wanted to try to put something together which started with quite a fragile, exposed acoustic guitar playing in sort of style of a poor man's bourrée by Bach, that sort of aspect. As far as the instrumentation goes, there are going to be there's recorders to the early part, which gives it a sort of slightly medieval feel.
That is the perfect description of how it started off. It's like he was writing a short film when he was writing this song, writing and producing this song.
There's a lady who's sure all that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven.
That was an idea of John Paul Jones's, to put the recorders on, and he played the recorders. When I actually had the idea for Stairway, that wasn't necessary. I wasn't thinking recorders. I was thinking more the texture of actually the electric piano.
And she's buying a stairway to heaven.
I can hear piano replacing it, but those recorders worked.
There's a sign on the wall, but she wants to be sure, 'cause you know
I gotta get a Led Zeppelin vinyl.
The idea of Stairway was to have a piece of music, a composition, whereby it would just keep unfolding into more layers and more moods, and actually the whole intensity of or subtlety and the intensity of the overlay of the composition would actually accelerate as it went through on every level, every emotional level, every musical level, and so it just keeps opening up as it continues through its sort of passage.
My thoughts exactly as I go back and listen to that song. Like, it's definitely opening up, and it's just like, it's like the song is literally going on a stairway to heaven. It's the lyrics.
When I look to the west and my spirit is crying.
I don't have a big vinyl collection yet, but I have a few. And when I open them up and read the credits and stuff, it brings me back to the days when I used to get CDs and can open the booklets. But I know a lot of you guys, Greatness Gang, are older. So what vinyl collection favorites do you have that you just like to just read the credits? Sometimes I'll just grab it and look at the album artwork. Let me know what you recommend that I should add to my collection.
Robert was magnificent with his input of lyrics to the music of Led Zeppelin anyway. This was during the period that we were at Headley Grange that the thing was put together. It was slightly complicated to be doing this whole thing without a vocal, because at the time there weren't any lyrics, and this was the backbone of what the song was intended to be, and the whole of the running order from the beginning to the end was sort of mapped out. It was tricky. It was a tricky thing to do because there's a lot of music and changes in it. And it's whispered that soon, if we all... I remember during that period, Robert was sort of sitting down, leaning against the wall, and he was just sort of writing. I won't never forget that image of him doing that. We do a run through of it from beginning to end with the guitar opening, as we all know, and then Robert comes up and starts to pitch in and sing. And I tell you, it must have been 90% of the lyrics were already done.
Wow, I've heard other artists say that about songs too in the interviews. Like the songs that they wrote the quickest ended up becoming some of their biggest hit records. And I'm just thinking about like this song, like what if Robert never added the lyrics? Do you guys think it would have been this big?
What I'd learnt about John Bonham, that he could be really effective if he came in somewhere down the line on the song. And so everything is starting to open up on this map, on this journey through. And all of this stuff was planned, you know, it wasn't just an accident or everyone chipping in. It was just, it really was a sort of design. One of the cardinal rules when I was a studio musician was that you didn't speed up. And I was keen to do something which had an acceleration to it.
That was one of the things that I pointed out in my reaction to Stairway to Heaven. And some of you guys informed me, it was like, yes, he was speeding up the song. And that was a really shocker to me.
Not only from the musical point of view, but from the lyricist, so that the whole thing would start to gain a momentum as it went through. So it wasn't just a monotone piece. And by that, I actually mean that it would subtly speed up. So you're breaking the #1 cardinal rule.
Break them rules, man. It's gonna get you far in life.
The concept of the solo was to have something like a sort of fanfare, so it's a definite transition. So it comes in with a fanfare to introduce this solo, and the solo is just going to soar right through. It was a very inspired time for all of us at the time that we were living in the Headley Grange as a residence, eating, sleeping, making music. That's what we were doing day after day after day. And it sort of tells when you hear the 4th album. But, you know, Stairway is a sort of byproduct of it, of all of that. But, you know, it's obviously been quite substantial as a milestone for Led Zeppelin. At the end of that solo, there's the trills, which lead it into this huge finale, which is the vocal as we wind on down the road. And by that point, it's really motoring. It's not racing, but it's just the passion of it. It's just unfolded on every respect of the lyrical aspect of it. And Robert was inspired.
And it's like, yeah, when the vocal comes in, it's just loud, passionate, in your face. Like, usually when a vocal comes in on a song, it's a build, but since the song had already built, Robert just came in and just, woof, I'm in your face, like I'm here. And you just take in all that emotion.
It was really an inspired period of time. It sort of shows that, I think, the lasting quality of this music over all these years is the fact that everyone's playing so honestly and with such conviction that it sort of shows.
And she's buying a stairway to heaven.
Wow. Okay, that was from Jimmy Page's perspective, how it was written. So now we're going to go to Robert Plant speaks on how Stairway to Heaven was written. And this is from AXS TV.
There is one song, however, that is in a category all its own. The 8-minute masterpiece, Stairway to Heaven.
8 minutes. Just imagine trying to keep someone's attention for 8 minutes on a song. That says a lot about these guys.
All that glitters is gold, and she's buying a stairway to heaven.
In 1971, the music was composed by Jimmy Page, and the lyrics were written by Robert Plant. All these years later, it still resonates with so many young and old. Rolling Stone magazine readers called it the best song in rock and roll history.
So let me just take 1 second let me grab my calculator. It is 2023. And the song was released 1971. So 52 years later, the song is still impacting people's lives, aka me.
Now it's Stairway to Heaven. A lot of people consider it the most classic song of Led Zeppelin time. But it's my understanding that while you will perform it, it's not your favorite thing to perform.
Well, it's not about it being my favorite or not. It's nothing to do with that, really. It's just that it belongs to a particular time. If I had been involved in the instrumentation, I would feel that it's a magnificent piece of music which has its own character and personality. It even speeds up in a similar way to some pieces of more highbrow music. But my contribution was to write lyrics and to sing a song about fate and something very British, almost abstract. But they were coming out of the mind of a 23-year-old guy, you know. And it landed in the years and the era of 23-year-old guys. And I think as time goes on, you find that you may find another period of your life has got a little bit more substance or is more relative later on down the line, you know. So as much as I like it, I'm not wedded to that whole deal now.
Now, true or untrue that Kashmir is your personal all-time favorite?
Yeah, I think it probably, well, it was a great achievement to take such a monstrously dramatic musical piece and find a lyric that was ambiguous enough and a delivery which was not over pumped. Just, it almost was like the antithesis of the music was this kind of lyric and this vocal delivery that was just about enough to get in there.
Isn't it kind of crazy how like artists like who've been around like this long perform the same hit records for years and years and years, and on stage they got the energy, smiling, participating with the audience, but in their head they've been tired of performing that song years ago, but they still have to do it. Like I said, it's not, you don't hate it, but it's not his favorite.
You know.
But it's your personal all-time favorite.
Well, I mean, there's such a variety of songs that I guess I would have to go along. Today, I'd have to say yes.
Tomorrow, maybe something else.
Yeah, exactly.
While Kashmir may be Robert Plant's favorite song, one of his most personal songs was All My Love. He wrote the ballad for his son, Carrick. Carrick died of a stomach virus at the age of 5, while Plant was on an American tour with Led Zeppelin. Plant left the band immediately to spend the next several months grieving with his family.
All My Love. I know it's difficult for you to talk about it because you wrote that in the wake of your son's death in the mid-70s. And as a parent, I know what every other parent knows, that your terror in life is that one of your children will die before you do. And I recognize it, but tell me what you can and what you will about All My Love.
Yeah. I think it was just paying tribute to the joy that he gave us as a family, you know, and in a crazy way still does occasionally. His mother and I often, I mean, the memory changes, the contrast and the focus changes as time goes on. It's a long time ago that we lost him, 40 years ago. And we were blessed with another boy who came along about 2 years later, and the two images are blurred. The definition between Carrick and Logan is, it's a tough one to chip through the two things. But he was a little nature boy, you know. He was a mountain man.
How did you get through that?
Well, it wasn't easy, especially in the light of the fact that there's the whole hysteria that surrounded the mid to late 70s was, it was anything but conducive to normal family life. But we pulled tight together, and both my wife and I, we had strong families, so. And good support. I mean, John Bonham from Zeppelin and his wife Pat, they were magnificent with us and helped us a lot. And we lived pretty close together, a long way from London, so we were kind of local people. And local community, I'm still in the same place, really, more or less, you know. there's nothing that, there's no words that are anywhere to be found that can tell you about the sort of huge abyss. I wrote another song about him called I Believe, which was on an album in 1992, and it was, and every now and again, he turns up in songs, you know, for no other reason than I miss him a lot.
Well, grief is such a individual, uniquely individual thing, and such an intimate thing that nobody can give anybody advice about grief. But going through what you did, losing a son, and a young son at that, is there any word maybe of counsel that you could give to someone who's looking in on this and saying, you know, I lost somebody recently?
Well, as you say, it's such an individual phenomena, or just piece of real bad luck. And I don't know how many people have been in the public eye to such a garish degree as that, you know, that's what happened to us. I know other guys who do what I do, who've lost kids, and because we're kind of public property in a way,
Right.
for all that we're not before this, because there's so much hidden, we're still public property. So our conditions and our luck and our bad luck and our whole circumstances are there for public discussion. Yeah, that's how it works, you know. So when it's tough, it's really tough. I would just say, I can't imagine how people get through it. There's no advice. Just love everything around you as much as you can.
Wow. I didn't expect him to add that towards the end of the interview. But prayers to Robert and his family. Like he said, probably extra tough having to dealing with that, being such huge public figures. But I liked both guys' perspective of how the song was written. It's crazy how like Jimmy was breaking it down like a mad scientist, like a musical genius, and Robert Plant was speaking from a perspective like, hey, this song only was supposed to be suited for this time era, and basically he doesn't like doing it anymore. So it's kind of interesting to hear both sides. The other footage I have is something called Led Zeppelin Moby Dick drum solo. So we're gonna check that out before we check out the final John Bonham interview. God damn. So, is a song called Moby Dick, I guess? And if so, I need to go back and listen to the official audio. That drum solo was crazy. The final clip, Greatness Gang. Thanks for watching the whole video. We got a mini interview from John Bonham. All Right Now interview, 1980.
Hello everybody and welcome back to All Right Now. I want to tell you we've scored an absolute coup here on this show because we're going to do probably the only interview of John Bonham ever done. Mind you, when you see it you'll probably realise why it's the only one ever done. But before that, we have a wee magic thing on the video here. Scenes from the Led Zeppelin film, and it's actually John Bonham doing his thing, and the tune part is Moby Dick. And he also drives some pretty exotic vehicles. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sitting beside a guy who is possibly the best rock and roll drummer on earth. Would you agree with that?
No, not really.
I'm sure you would agree with that, John.
Not at all.
No, he doesn't agree with that at all. And I'm going to ask him a most important question here. John, we've been watching that bit film there, and you do some really exotic... It must have taken you years to learn to play like that, did it?
Not really.
Like he go from humble to cocky. I guess he had a big sense of humor.
The weather's turned out nice again, Johnny.
So.
Yeah. Now, John drives some pretty exotic cars and motorbikes and plays a fair game of snooker, as you've no doubt seen from that clip of film. How long did it take you to learn to do that, John?
A few months.
Yeah. Gee, the nights are drawing in now, eh? Yeah, by the way, in the film there, I noticed your son's a pretty heavy drummer. Jason, isn't it?
Yes.
Are you envious?
Yes.
Is he better than you?
Could be.
Did you see that? Did you see the way Jason was twirling the sticks that young?
Yeah, by the way, in the film there, I noticed your son's a pretty heavy drummer. Jason, isn't it?
Yes.
Are you envious?
Yes.
Is it?
His attitude, everything. He was just so badass at a young age.
Better than you?
Could be.
On that cheery note, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you because at this point in the how could we say it? In the thank you. I don't think it has proceeded very much. At this point in the proceedings, I'm going to leave. You don't see me again in the show. And it's great because the bar's still open. But I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of a young man who brought a little bit of green into the blues, and his name is Rory Gallagher.
All right, that's it, Greatness Gang. Thank you for giving me all the Led Zeppelin history that you gave me in the comments. Thank you for all the recommendations. I'm coming back with a lot more. Thank you for sticking around watching this entire video. Appreciate it. I love you guys. Subscribe to the channel. We on the road to 3K. Thank you.